Hello everyone, this is the Average Joe again. Maybe not for long, we may change that name in the near future, who knows. For those of you who watched to the very end of my Pokemon Let's Play several months ago, you may remember this scene. What is something that I can talk about that is unique and interesting? Oh. Hello. Well, now it's time to fulfill that promise. But instead of just talking about my favorite episodes of the series or the best songs or some other cliche list, I thought I'd go over a more unique approach. So today, because I had literally nothing better to do with my life apparently, we're going to talk about which Lantern Corps the VeggieTales cast would be in. And yes, I know that Needle Mouse Productions does a series on his channel with a similar format and everything, but you know what? It's not like Hogwarts sorting videos are a dime a dozen or anything. I think it's totally fair for two different channels to have a similar show going on. Also, I messaged him about it, and I have his blessing on the series anyway. So let's actually get into the concept of the video itself. For the unaware, VeggieTales' premise is meant to be somewhere between Monty Python's Flying Circus and The Muppet Show. You have an established set of actors trying to put on a variety show, and failing because the people on the show have over-the-top personalities that end up clashing with each other. But the thing about the series is that even that premise is a built-in concept. Much like a Steven Spielberg cartoon, the characters on the show are fully aware that they're animated and have a hand in the behind-the-scenes material. VeggieTales is a show, within a show, within a show. So while I will draw a bit from the types of characters they've played in the story segments, I mainly want to focus on the countertop scenes with the personalities of the characters themselves in mind. Okay, so let's also establish the Lantern Corps as well. You might be asking yourself, would the Lantern Corps let a bunch of talking vegetables in? Trust me, they've had much weirder members because comics. So the Lantern Corps are a set of factions in the DC Comics universe that give certain abilities to certain people if they have a certain emotion, because that's what the ring gets its power from. There's willpower, fear, love, compassion, hope, anger, avarice, and then also life and death, and some weird ultraviolet one that we don't know anything about at the moment. Only thing we have for assumptions is that it might be shame, but nothing canon. But without any further ado, let's begin. I wanted to start off with Bob the Tomato. So Bob has changed quite a bit over the years. He's usually shown to be a very angry guy and could qualify for the Red Lantern of Rage, but looking at his core, everything he does is always centered around his desire to teach. Phil Vischer, the creator of the series and the voice of the character, has always referred to Bob as his inner Mr. Rogers. No matter how tired he seems or how all the plans go wrong, his core motivation is the passion he has for the kids he helps. So for this, I would put him in the Sapphire Core of Love. I know that they were exclusively female for several decades, but recently they have started adding males to the roster, and I'm sure they'll be glad to have this tomato. Next I want to talk about Larry the Cucumber. Larry is an interesting character to try and decide for. His interest in the series was never directly helping the children, it was more so helping Bob and having a good time entertaining people. Because of that, I am going to rule out both love and compassion early on. He's not particularly scary, he's not really greedy, and he's not really powered by will. He's an optimist, a dreamer. Perfectly suited for hope. Also, during his venture as a superhero, Larry does naturally inspire a great amount of hope in the citizens of Bumbleberg, as he does prove he is a capable crime fighter and protects them all from evildoers. When he's written correctly, that is. Next I want to talk about Jimmy and Jerry Gourd. I'm putting these two together because they are very similar characters and are probably going to have the same decision anyway. The one defining trait of both Jimmy and Jerry is that they're always hungry and constantly searching for more food. In their debut episode, the pair of them consumed an entire meteor. And while this is technically the characters they're playing, it's been the continuing trend with them in nearly every episode. So, I have no choice but to place them in the Orange Lantern of Avarice. Of course, once they both realize that the ring gives you an innate desire to consume everything in sight, they'll both probably reject it, but really, can you think of a better placing for them? Next, I want to cover Petunia Rhubarb, and this is really an easy one. Whether Petunia is just being herself or playing a role, the one thing that has always defined her is her heart for others. It's just so ingrained in her personality to forgive and see the good in people that I can't really think of a better place for her than the Compassion Corps. Lastly, I want to cover Archibald Asparagus. Now, Archibald was extremely difficult to place. I initially didn't want to place him in the Red Lantern Corps because he more or less just seems to be frustrated with everything, but I can't really think of a better place for him. He's not particularly loving, he's not extremely hopeful, he's not that greedy. He's been shown to have some compassion, and he started to mellow out in recent years, but the one thing that's always defined him has been his built-up anger at the show going wrong. Going back to Phil Vischer, the creator of the show and the guy who voices most of them, he himself said that when Archibald gets angry, it's a scary thing. It's like Bob on steroids. His words, not mine. So that's 5, technically 6 characters that have been sorted, and I think that's a good stopping point for today. If this gets some good traction, maybe I'll continue another day with 5 more characters. You can leave your suggestions in the comment section below. I think if I come back to the subject of the Lantern Corps again, I want to do something like My Hero Academia, or maybe even Pokemon. But I guess I'll just have to see you guys whenever that happens. Alright? Bye.